Well, hello and hi, everybody, and welcome to another BIM for You Presents installment. Today, I want to speak to you about COBie workbooks and the one-to-many problem. But before we get into that, I want to put a big shout out and thank you to everybody who put their likes and their comments against this video, where I got the opportunity to dance on stage whilst the great Carlos Santana was playing in concert in Las Vegas. It was a fantastic time. I did say he's not only an amazingly talented, but also generous man. And that's because not only did he give me his guitar pick, which is nice enough, but on top of that, at the end of the show, he gave me this. So it looks like I'm going to have to learn to play it, which kind of means that probably once a month I'll be posting my guitar progress and hoping that I do Carlos Santana proud. But thanks again for the likes and the well wishes that you posted on LinkedIn. Okay, so let's get into the focus of this, which is COBie workbook and the one-to-many problem. What am I talking about? Well, if you've looked at a COBie worksheet, and I've got an example that I'm going to show you in a short while, one of the things that you'll notice is that essentially when you add documents, you're going to have multiple documents for every component and also for every asset type. And as a result of that, those sheet names, component and type and others, are repeated again and again, and so are the row names that refer to a particular asset. It's just the way that you represent a relational situation in a flat file scenario. And that's the one-to-many problem. Now, what does it look like in terms of the spreadsheet? So here is an example of a particular asset type, which is AC unit type 1. For each one of those asset types, there may be multiple components. And what you'll notice is that the type name is repeated again and again and again for every instance or every component that is of that particular type. On top of that, when you then have multiple documents that are associated with those components or with those types, you will notice that the row name, which happens to be AC unit type 1, is again repeated over and over. And that's why I call the one-to-many problem, because it's basically a very inefficient way to work. Now, you want to see this for yourself. Look, here's an example. All right. Here we are in the type tab. And you can sort of see here that we've got AC unit type 1. I'm just going to filter, in fact, by AC unit type 1. So I'll just get rid of all these and just have AC unit type 1 here. And you can see it's one item. And we've got all the information, the category, whatever classification that's being used. You can put in warranty information, all those things that you can associate with that particular type. On top of that, if you go to the component tab, the way it links back to the type, as you'd expect, is through the type name column. So we end up having multiple entries to associate each one of these components with the particular type, asset type, equipment type to which it belongs. You go one step further and you start looking at the document tab. And then you say, well, you know what, how do I know which documents refer to which particular types or which particular components? And the way we do that is through the sheet name. It can be type that it's referring to, but there are others, as you can see here. So it could be referring to any one of these. And then on top of that, we then can filter and we can say, well, actually, I only want to see the documents associated with AC unit type 1. And there we go. Now, yes, you've got the name of the item. There's no real link that would allow you to open the item. And to me, as much as I understand the basic intent of this, I have to say that we're not leveraging the best technology when we limit ourselves by sticking with just Excel. So what's the answer? Well, here's BIM4U's journey in trying to answer the one-to-many problem. One of the first things I started to do was to look at SharePoint lists in SharePoint. They're called Microsoft lists. And to some extent, they have been able to undergird some of the tools that I have been promoting. So example is the COBie data updater, great tool set, and it's using the SharePoint lists and a Power App in order to do that. That's great, and what it does is exactly what it's supposed to do. And if I again was to take you to the web, just do that very quickly, and here's my Power Apps. And in fact, what I'll do is show you the SharePoint list, and this is what essentially the system looks like. Now, the nice thing about the SharePoint list is that I can connect an app to this list, which can go on other people on mobile phones. So I'll actually, I'll show you what that looks like. So what I've got running in the background here, you can see, I'm just going to come out of this temporarily. I'm going to open my Power Apps, and essentially what's connecting into here, and I've shown you this before, but just to make sure that everybody's aware, you can simply link in. And what I've done is I've taken the data that sits behind, and I can filter by any one of these. So I can filter by room. I can say that's particularly for that. I can then go to this view here to see all the information. That's again completely adjustable. And then finally, I can also make changes to it. So I can change the manufacturer, but all the time in the background, it's updating the SharePoint list. Now, what it can also do is that we can then export this information to Excel and open an Excel spreadsheet that has all this information. Because the element IDs from Revit are also in this list, I can use it to re-import this information back into Revit after I've captured it from all the suppliers who are using the app. Very powerful and easy to use. The only thing is that when I started to look at attachments, and I'll show you this, I'll just open just one of these just to give you an idea of what that looks like. If I choose to edit, for instance, this particular attachment, what you'll see is the best that I can really do is this button here which says Add Attachment. Now, it's not really a particularly powerful database approach, because ultimately there is really no way to query this information. You can't, it's not stored anywhere but embedded inside of the list. So it's not particularly the kind of environment that I could think about using. So after giving that some thought, I started to think again about maybe there's a different platform or different set of tools we can use. And what I've come across is the Dataverse. So this is a Microsoft environment which includes all of the data attributes, and it's essentially the underlying platform for all of the online tools that Microsoft has developed. And the benefit of the Dataverse is that you can attach documents to the list. That's one of the benefits. I'm going to give you a few others. So this is exactly what the table looks like. You can see the data in there. One of the powerful things we can do is that we can control the views. So I could say, actually, all I'm interested in is the AC unit. Or I could say that all I'm interested in is closeout submittals. And you can basically create filters for anything. I might be only interested in product data. Very powerful, and it's done through this feature here known as views. The next thing that I could do in this environment is that any given record that I have, I can very easily select that and I can edit the record. But remember that I'm still doing this basically on my laptop. And I keep thinking to myself, well, will I be walking around the construction site with a laptop, or will I be in the site office, always have access to a laptop? What about if there's information that's on my phone? How do I attach that type of information? But what you can see here is that we've got the capability of at least uploading one file. And you can sort of see an example here of one that I've uploaded. I can very quickly click on that particular file. And then if I go here to open file, so I just go to my downloads, which are here, and I just choose open file. And so I've got access and it's linked to the specific item. That's still not one to many, is it? No. So one of the key features of this environment is the ability to add multiple attachments. And that's really where I started to see the benefit and the solution that I'm proposing. So here's an example of a particular item. It's the air conditioning unit. What you'll notice is, as I've just showed you, you can open this view. You can identify this one-to-one relationship, so you can have an upload file that's associated with that particular record. But it gets a little bit better than that, because we can add another page which shows multiple attachments. And as you can see here, there's an example of those multiple attachments. I'll just show you it in this environment as well. And there we go. So we've got these multiple attachments. Now, the really nice thing about this environment is, apart from being able to upload to the environment and save this information in SharePoint, even apart from the fact that we get the added hyperlink, the real benefit here is that I can create a completely new Office document and add it into the system. So that means that I can create that document on the fly, put the information into it, and know it is being stored against this particular item. All right, that's really powerful. So the key thing to get there is that we can add multiple documents. And as I said, you've got the ability also to add a Word, an Excel, even a PowerPoint, or you can just upload PDFs and other items like that. Now, there's one other key benefit to the way this system works, and that is that it integrates with Teams. So you can create a Power App, and that Power App integrates with Teams. So here we are, we're in Teams, and it's exactly the same app that I've generated, but it now sits within the Teams environment. Now, I'm going to go a little bit further with this, but what it means then is that if I'm interested in, say, this particular document again, I can just click on that hyperlink. I get to the information, but guess what? I can add attachments. I can download attachments from here. Just so imagine somebody on the other side of it, they could say, well, yes, let's see the documentations for the AC units, if it's all in there, if it's complete, and so on. All tied in to the same system. Really beautiful integrated environment. We can, once again, within the Teams environment, we can add Word documents, Excel, or we can upload into that environment. Now, here's the one other piece of the puzzle which really does make a big difference for people who are trying to access into the system. So what happens is that essentially this information is actually stored inside of SharePoint. The benefit of obviously using SharePoint is that, as you can see here, all of the documents which are associated based on the naming, all of those documents, and of course you can set it up so that it goes into your folder structure, but in each case you can access the documents which are associated with a particular item. So these are all of the documents. They're all stored in SharePoint, and they're all linked back to the information that's stored in here. Now that is a significant improvement because it solves the one-to-many problem. So here's my final question to you. With all of that data, one last thing before I go is you'll notice that I've actually added in the metadata that's associated with COBie here. So we've got category, we've got approval by, we've got stage, and obviously we can add in things like the status, of this information so that it goes through all of the usual gateways before it's fully approved and is then accepted. You can also migrate this data from one SharePoint environment to another. All of this is part of the system. It's a better way than anything I've seen in terms of being able to link this data in the way that becomes something useful to people who are trying to capture all of their handover information against the different assets. But still, we can still take the basic information. Let me make this very clear. We can still take this basic information that we started with, this list, we can download that to an Excel file, and we can still import it into the Revit environment, use the Revit COBie extension to generate the COBie file. All this does is give you something very practical in terms of how to capture and store this information. One last piece of this, which I didn't get into, is the fact that, and I'll just show you on this screen here, that's not just something that I can run on Teams when it comes to the computer or the PC-based system. What you'll notice here is that I can also access this information, as you can see, through here as well on your mobile. Now that to me is saying a whole lot. I can look at attachments. As you can see here, I can begin to add attachments to it. It's all in here. So I suppose to close, I suppose I've got some just basic question to ask you. And it's, what's your answer to the one-to-many problem? So look, it's been great. Thanks again for the likes and for the well wishes that went against the Carlos Santana. I'll keep you updated on me learning how to play Santana's Gift of a Guitar, but please add your comments below. And this has been a BIM4U presentation. Thanks so much.